You've been told to love deeply, give your all, and be patient. But what if I told you that the very way you start a relationship decides how it ends? So many women fall into the trap of overgiving too soon, hoping their love will be enough to make a man stay. But here's the truth. Men don't fall in love because of how much you give. They fall in love when they feel who they are around you. In the beginning, he's watching more than you think. He notices if you abandon your boundaries to please him. He notices if you're already prioritizing his needs before yours. That's not love, it's self-erasure. Real lasting love begins with self-respect. And when a man senses that you value yourself first, everything changes. He doesn't just chase you, he rises to meet you. If you're ready to stop guessing and start attracting love that lasts, this is where it begins. Let's talk. Have you ever fallen for someone too soon, before your heart had time to breathe, before your wounds had time to close? You tell yourself you're ready, you want something real, but deep inside, you're still carrying the weight of what happened before, the betrayal, the confusion, the slow unraveling of someone who swore they cared. And without meaning to, you bring those stories with you into something new, hoping this time it will finally rewrite the old ones. But here's the truth. If you don't take time to heal, you won't enter love, you'll enter survival. And in survival, we don't choose wisely. We settle. We chase. We ignore red flags and over-explain ourselves just to feel seen. Psychologically, when emotional wounds are unhealed, the brain clings to familiarity, even if that familiarity is dysfunction. You'll unconsciously gravitate toward partners who resemble past pain, not because you're weak, but because your nervous system confuses anxiety with excitement. What feels intense feels important, but intensity isn't intimacy. It's often chaos. And on the other side, some men unconsciously seek out emotionally overgiving women because it feeds their ego without requiring vulnerability. It allows them to receive love without earning trust. They're not necessarily bad, they're just emotionally unready. But if you walk in wounded, you'll try to heal through them instead of before them. Here's the shift. Healing is your responsibility, not his role. Love is not rehab. And you don't need to prove your worth through fixing, pleasing, or being the understanding one again and again. You get to pause. You get to feel. You get to unlearn every lie that told you love means sacrifice without limits. Because once you begin to heal, something incredible happens. Your standards rise without effort. You stop chasing people who can't meet you. You start recognizing consistency over charm. You begin to feel grounded, not desperate. And that calm inside you, it attracts partners who are calm within themselves too. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you've faced your pain instead of burying it. It means you're not building your future on broken bricks. So before you give your heart again, give it back to yourself first. Hold it gently. Love it honestly. Because real love, the lasting kind, doesn't rescue you. It meets you once you've rescued yourself. Have you ever found yourself drawn to someone who looked perfect on paper, but something deep inside still felt off? He says the right things. He shows up just enough to keep you hopeful. He smiles like he means it. But when you're alone, it's not peace you feel, it's anxiety. You're constantly wondering where you stand, replaying conversations, trying to decode the emotional distance behind his presence. Here's the truth that's hard to face. Real love isn't confusing. It doesn't keep you up at night guessing if you're enough. If you've been conditioned to equate love with longing, chaos with passion, or inconsistency with desire, this isn't your fault. It's what happens when we've learned to survive in emotionally unstable relationships. Psychologically, the brain becomes addicted to the highs and lows of inconsistency. Every breadcrumb feels like a meal. Every small gesture becomes a sign of hope. That roller coaster tricks you into thinking it's connection, when in fact it's survival mode attachment. Some men know exactly how much to give to keep you close without ever fully stepping in. This isn't always intentional manipulation. Often it's emotional unavailability or fear of intimacy. They're attracted to connection, but once things feel too real, too vulnerable, they pull back. You're left holding the weight of the relationship, confused about why it's suddenly all on you. But lasting love doesn't look like effort. It feels like safety. It's soft, steady, and emotionally present. It's not built on adrenaline, it's built on clarity. And once you learn what emotional safety feels like, you'll never again settle for the kind of love that makes you question your sanity. So ask yourself, does this person bring calm or confusion into my life? Does he create space for your truth, or does he disappear when things get deep? Does your body relax around him or tighten? The moment you stop chasing chemistry and start seeking consistency, your entire world shifts. You'll find yourself less impressed by potential and more grounded in reality. You deserve love that's certain, not love you have to convince to stay. Let this be your turning point, not into hardness or fear, but into clarity, into love that reflects the peace you've created inside yourself. Because when you stop chasing the performance of love, you finally receive the real thing. Have you ever held back from saying what you really want because you didn't want to scare him off? Maybe you stayed quiet when something hurt. You didn't ask where things were going. You told yourself to be cool, to not come off as needy, to let him lead, even though it was tearing you up inside. This is a trap so many women fall into, confusing silence with strength. But hiding your truth doesn't create closeness, it creates disconnection. And when your needs go unspoken, resentment starts to bloom in silence. The psychology behind this, many women were taught from early on that expressing needs makes them too much. And men who are emotionally avoidant or unsure often reinforce that belief by pulling away when things get real. Not because your truth is wrong, but because it threatens their comfort zone. Men who fear emotional intimacy often seek relationships where the emotional labor stays one-sided. When you begin to express what you truly need, commitment, clarity, safety, it disrupts their control. Suddenly, the relationship isn't just about what he wants. And if he's not ready to meet you there, he might call you needy simply because he isn't ready to give. But that is not a reflection of your worth. That is a mirror to his readiness. So, here's what you need to know. Voicing your needs is not a risk, it's a filter. If someone leaves because you stated your truth with grace, they were never capable of holding space for that truth anyway. Lasting love doesn't grow in emotional silence. It grows in mutual vulnerability. When you show up as yourself, fully, boldly, and honestly, you create the foundation for a connection that's built on more than attraction. You build something real. You're not asking for too much. You're asking the wrong person if it feels like too much. Start now. Speak up. Say what matters. Say how you feel. Don't shrink to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold you. Because the man who's truly ready, he won't run from your truth. He'll rise to meet it. Let this be the moment you stop seeking permission for your heart. You don't need to be less. You only need to be heard. Have you ever noticed how much you're willing to give in a relationship, even when you're not receiving the same in return? You give him time, energy, understanding. You forgive the emotional distance. You overlook the lack of effort because you hope it will change. Maybe you even tell yourself that if you just love a little harder, he'll finally open up. But here's the question that hurts the most. What happens when you stop? When you stop initiating every conversation? When you stop carrying the emotional weight for both of you? When you stop bending just to keep his attention? That's when you meet the real him. Many women fall into the habit of overgiving, not because they're weak, but because they've learned love must be earned. Somewhere in their past, love came with conditions. So now love looks like proving, fixing, or being endlessly available. But emotionally unavailable men often depend on that dynamic. It lets them enjoy the benefits of connection without the burden of emotional responsibility. They get to receive love, support, and presence without ever fully showing up themselves. This isn't always conscious manipulation. Sometimes it's fear of intimacy. Sometimes it's ego. A man like this may not know how to process closeness without feeling trapped or exposed. So he relies on your giving spirit to maintain the illusion of a healthy relationship while staying emotionally safe himself. When you stop overgiving, you disrupt that balance, and suddenly the emotional labor falls where it always should have been, shared. How he reacts in that moment tells you everything. Does he step up or does he fade away? This is not about playing games or withholding love. It's about honoring your value. It's about no longer tying your worth to how much you sacrifice. When you stop overextending, you get to see clearly. You stop managing his emotions and start listening to your own. And in that stillness, you reclaim your power. The man who's ready will meet you in that space. The one who isn't will reveal himself the moment you stop filling all the gaps. You are not here to earn love through exhaustion. You are here to receive it fully and freely. And you don't have to do more to deserve that. You just have to stop doing what was never yours to carry in the first place. Have you ever found yourself clinging to the sweet moments in between the confusion? One day, he's fully present, texting first, showing affection, making you feel seen. Then, without warning, he becomes distant. Short replies, cancelled plans. That warm energy is suddenly cold. And you're left wondering, did I do something wrong? Here's the truth. Inconsistency is clarity in disguise. It's not a puzzle to solve. It's not a test of your patience. It's a mirror showing you a person who doesn't yet have the emotional stability to show up fully. And your desire to keep decoding him isn't a flaw, it's a reflection of your need for emotional certainty. That's human. But continuing to stay in that confusion is where your power begins to drain. Psychologically, inconsistency triggers the same part of the brain activated by addiction. Just like a gambler waits for the next win, your heart holds out for the next high, hoping the affection will return and stay this time. But this pattern creates emotional exhaustion, not connection. Often, men who fear intimacy will offer just enough to keep the connection alive, but not enough for it to deepen. The pullback happens when emotional closeness becomes uncomfortable. It threatens their sense of control, their ego, or their fear of being truly seen. So they retreat, then return once they feel you've cooled off, and the cycle repeats. You deserve more than a cycle, you deserve certainty. The right relationship doesn't leave you questioning your worth. It doesn't ask you to interpret mixed signals or accept bare minimum love. It brings peace, not emotional whiplash. So instead of asking why he's inconsistent, ask yourself, why am I tolerating this pattern? And more importantly, what would I feel without it? That answer often reveals a deeper truth. We sometimes stay in confusion because clarity means letting go. And letting go is painful, but it's also where freedom begins. You don't have to make excuses for his behavior. You don't have to wait for him to change. Let his inconsistency be the answer you've been avoiding. Because peace begins where you stop chasing potential and start choosing reality. And when you choose yourself fully and consistently, you create the space for someone else to do the same.